Are we muted?
No.
Should I do that?
Yeah. Otherwise, you might not be able to stay in.
If everyone could mute themselves, please.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It has been a week, and we enter Shabbat with an extra need for deep breath. Yet we also enter Shabbat with pride and joy for who we are and for what we stand for as a community, as members of Am Yisrael who come together to celebrate each week, to celebrate Shabbat. And so we are going to first take that deep breath that we need. Just one moment. First, we're going to adjust the volume. Hopefully you're deep breathing this whole time. Breathing in general is really a good thing that we should all do. Okay. Can everybody hear me now? Okay. So we are going to begin with a few deep breaths, welcoming in Shabbat. We deep breath in, deep breath out. Another deep breath in. Another deep breath out. And we begin our service with words of strength. We rise, humbly hearted rise, won't be divided, rise, with Spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise. All of the children rise. Elders with wisdom rise. Ancestors surround us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise. Up from the wreckage, rise. With tears and with courage, rise. We're fighting for life, we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're We welcome Shabbat by lighting Shabbat candles. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no service. But I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my inner capacity to love. As I reach upwards in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. I invite you to light your Shabbat candles with me. We will begin the prayer shortly. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We continue welcoming Shabbat with words of joy and song. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shir chadash. דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו תפארת ולתחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה. Please rise in all the ways you're able. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצוהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה. Please remain standing as we continue with the Baruch Hu. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Dai 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 dai. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai, yai dai Please be seated. And as we sing words of Ahavat Olam, we think not just about this everlasting love that God has for us, but also that the gifts were physical, Torah, mitzvot, things that we can do every day, including resting this Shabbat. These are all gifts of love. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shuchbenu, hukumeinu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negei yomam ve'layla, negei yomam ve'layla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael. Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. I would love if we might have a volunteer from our community who could read for us.
I will.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
Sure. Standing again on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Amen. Thank you. Let us join hands metaphorically and march together as we sing the words of Mi Chamocha. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neda And if I could ask just one more person to share with us this reading for the Hashkivenu,
I can read it.
that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. We continue with the tefillah, the core part of our service, and I encourage you to rise in all the ways that you are able. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibur v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach umorid hagashem. Mechalkel chayim bechesed. Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim. Umatir asurim, umekayim emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai mechayeh hakol. Ata kadosh u'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelujah selah. Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Before we enter our silent prayer, we sing words asking for peace to be spread over us and over the world. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Please take a moment for your own silent prayer. In the reign of Ahaz, son of Jotam, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram, and King Pekah, son of Remaliah of Israel, marched upon Jerusalem to attack it, but they were not able to attack it. Now, when it was reported to the house of David that Aram had allied itself with Ephraim, their hearts and the hearts of their people trembled, as trees of the forest sway before a wind. But Adonai said to Isaiah, "Go out with your son She'ar-Yashuv to meet Ahaz in the end of the conduit of the upper pool, by the road of the fuller's field, and say to him, be firm and be calm. Do not be afraid, and do not lose heart on account of those 2 smoking stubs of firebrands, on account of the raging of Rezin and his Arameans, and the son of Remaliah. Because the Arameans with Ephraim and the son of Remaliah have plotted against you, saying, we will march against Judah and invade and conquer it, and we will set up a king in it, the son of Tabeel. Thus said Adonai, my God, it shall not succeed. It shall not come to pass. I hate war stories. Almost anything that feels like it glorifies violence puts a pit in my stomach. Whether I encounter them in written, television, or audio form, even with characters or individuals I don't like or who I think are fighting for the wrong values. Admittedly, this makes many parts of our text challenging for me. Ironically, despite my aversion to stories that focus on war, this week's Haftarah portion, whose translation I just read, was exactly what I needed to read this week. A bit of context to this story. Isaiah the prophet was said to have lived around the 8th century BCE, and this was a time of incredible strife among Am Yisrael. Divided kingdoms, war, battle, attacks, and power grabs were aplenty. Among this chaos, Isaiah's prophecies often commented on the politics of the time, with strong words again and again advocating for concrete action in the face of injustice and corruption. This week's Haftarah portion reading tells the story of impending battle. It tells of the immense fear that community leaders defending themselves and those they love. V'yana levavo ulevav amo kenoa atse ya'ar mipnei haruach. Their hearts and the hearts of their people trembled as leaves on a tree of the forest swaying before the wind. And it shares the words that we each need to hear when our fear is real, but we have to be brave anyways. Hishamer v'hashket. Al tira ulevavcha al yerach mishnei hazanvot ha'adumim ha'ashenim ha'ela. Be firm and be calm. Do not be afraid and do not lose heart on account of those 2 tails of smoking firebrand stubs. In response to the phrase, those 2 tails of smoking firebrand stubs, try saying that 12 times fast, Rabbi Abraham ibn Ezra, an 11th century Sephardi Torah commentator, explains that those attacking forces whose motivations were fierce anger and destruction were not only as weak as a piece of wood that would only smoke rather than bring a flame, they were actually like the tails of that smoke. Their anger may once have caused a flame, but fire depletes energy long term. Those firebrand stubs would not have long-term success. The smoke would not reach far and wide, and it would not be all-encompassing. Those attacking forces who were motivated by anger and destruction would not succeed. This past Shabbat, we were reminded of the life and death nature of anti-Semitism, even in things as seemingly harmless as repeated words or tropes. We were also reminded of the increasing violence and deaths caused by racism against people of Asian descent. While I refuse to think of human beings as enemies, I have no qualms with stating that we need to suit up for battle against destruction and hatred in its many forms. We must not stand down and allow these evils to succeed. Yet we cannot choose violence in response to violence. In fact, we must not even be motivated solely by our own anger. Like fire, anger cannot succeed long term. It depletes us of our energy. Rather, we must choose education, relationship building, open-heartedness, and commitment to loving our neighbor as ourselves, as our weapons. As our troops grow in size, in knowledge, and in passion, with all these weapons in hand, this is how we will succeed. In the meantime, as we feel our hearts trembling like the trees of the forest swaying before the wind, let us remind ourselves, be firm and be calm. Do not be afraid and do not lose heart on account of tales of smoking firebrand stubs. Ken Yehirat Zon, may this be God's will. With these words of Torah on our hearts, we think of those who are in need of healing, healing of body, healing of soul, healing of spirit. If you are thinking of someone at this time who's in need of healing, please feel free to say their name aloud to yourself or to someone else in the room with you, to hold them in your hearts, and to type their names in the chat. We'll pause a moment to acknowledge those names. For all those names that we've said aloud, and those that we hold in our hearts, and those that we've typed in the chat, we sing the words of Misha Beirach. Misha Beirach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Le'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing, We continue with the words of Aleinu. Please rise in all the ways you are able. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. This Shabbat, we remember those who were a blessing in our lives, a blessing to the Jewish people, and a blessing to this world. We remember Michelle Go, who was called to her eternal rest in recent days. And this Shabbat, we remember the following yahrzeits. Please rise as your loved one's name is read. Grace Belsky, remembered by Randall Rosenberg. Kay Carmona, remembered by Tony Monroe. David Chapman, father of Susan Schwartz. Leah Pfefferman, mother of Edith Kaplan. Albert Levy, husband of Lulu Levy and father of Matthew Levy. Herbert Marks, father of Monica Silberberg. Leopold Mayer, remembered by Sue Schwartzman. And Jay Tannen, father of Edith Kaplan. We now invite all who are in their first year of mourning to rise at this time. And we now rise as a full community to say the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon uv'chaye techol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, Amen. Zichronam livracha. May all of their memories be for a blessing, to which we say, Amen. Please be seated. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, ve'imru. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. It's now time for announcements, and my pleasure to invite our trustee president to share some good news with us.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to everyone who joined us for our gatherings to process the hostage event at Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville, Texas. We'll be continuing the conversation of what safety looks like for us and our community moving forward. If you have questions or need to talk, please contact Rabbi Zoe. As announced in the special email this morning, after reviewing the local data regarding COVID cases, we have decided it's too soon to return to in-person activities. All Shabbat services and events will remain online at least through Sunday, February 13th. Religious school will remain online at least through Sunday, January 30th. We will closely monitor the situation over the next few weeks and provide an update by February 11th. That better, Pip? There is much more to Jewish history than shtetls and tenements. Join us virtually on Thursday, February 3rd at 5 p.m. for celebrating Tzipporah's children with speaker Cantor David Fair. We will learn about the history of American Black Jewish music and lived experiences. This event is open to all ages 12 and up. Registration is now open on our events page. Please register by Wednesday, February 2nd to receive the Zoom link. A $10 donation is suggested. This program is part of the What You Didn't Learn in Religious School series. In celebration of Temple Beth Torah's 60th anniversary, the women of Temple Beth Torah invite one and all to join us for a virtual tour of Israel. The tours will take place on 3 consecutive Sundays, February 27th, March 6th, and March 13th at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Please see our virtual tour of Israel event page for details, pricing, registration, and payment. Everyone is welcome to attend, no matter where they are in the world. Join us for 60 by 60, TBT's participation in the Fremont Green Challenge, where we challenge our community to take 60 greening actions at home before our 60th anniversary in June. Together, we will help reduce our carbon footprint and create a greener world. Additional details are on our social action page, with more info coming soon. For questions, please contact Susan Schwartz. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for that. I hope that each of you will sign up for our Green Challenge. There's a lot of good stuff out there. For this month, I am reminding myself to turn off lights. I am a perpetual light lever oner. It is something that I continually need to work on, and so that's my project for this month. I look forward to hearing what different projects that you are going to take on in your home to help us get to 60 by our 60th anniversary. We continue with our family blessing. So if you are nearby to your family, I encourage you to reach out to them. And if you are currently in the room by yourself, that's okay. I encourage you to close your eyes and hold your family and your chosen family in your hearts. And we'll say a blessing. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine God's face upon you and be gracious to you. May God's face turn to you and grant you peace. To which we say, Amen.
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 We now bless a sweet beverage. If you want to quickly grab such a sweet beverage, now is the time to do so. And we'll say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zeicher letziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. We now bless the motzi. And this week, we bless the motzi over a pretzel roll. Look at how beautiful that is. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. So we are doing things a little out of the ordinary. We are closing with a nigun. Usually we start with a nigun to get us in the Shabbat spirit. And I wanted us to end with a nigun, partially because I was reminded of it this week, and it brought me a lot of good Shabbat type feelings. And also because it is called the Tu B'Shvat Nigun, and I think Tu B'Shvat got a little overshadowed this week, which is a shanda. It's a bit of a bummer. So this is a nigun called the Tu B'Shvat Nigun, and as you catch along, please feel free to sing along. And if you want to harmonize to it from your own home, you're more than welcome to do so, as long as you stay muted. And so this is how it goes. Shabbat shalom, everyone.